welcome to Take Me Out, the ultimate podcast about ballparks and the baseball experience. It's August 22nd, 2025. I'm Alexandra Ellis, and I'm joining my friend Timothy Malcolm.
What's up, baseball fans? Welcome to Take Me Out. It is a beautiful, not as hot August in Houston, which is really nice.
I think
like,
it's
when
what
I say
we call...
when I say not as hot, it's 90, not 98.
Yeah, I think it's just still a little too early to call it first Falls Fall, because I know we have a couple falls.
Is this the first fall? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we're still in hurricane season, and knock on everything around us. Like we've been okay.
I don't think this is real wood table, but I'm gonna.
We need a bit of a reprieve after last year. Last year, we had Hurricane Beryl last year on top of a what do you call it? That
the
came
derecho.
The derecho that came in May or whatever. The hurricane.
Like a month of each other. Oh.
We were like looking at the maps, and the eye of Beryl came right over my house.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's nuts. Yeah.
It was wild. Yeah. It was wild because it was like we were in the house, the light, we had no power or anything like that. And it was like terrible. And then it stopped for like 5 minutes. We were like, oh, maybe it's over. And then it went back on again. And we're like, oh, that was the eye.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think it just missed my place by about half a mile. But I remember when Hurricane Ike hit, what was that, 2005 when Ike hit? And my dad woke me up, or I was awake, but he like got me out of bed, and like we went out to the front porch. It was like, we're in the eye of the hurricane right now, and I'm like, this is really cool and creepy. Can I go back to bed now? But it was yeah. But yeah, we had the derecho, which came out of nowhere. I mean, that's how they do. And then we had Beryl, and it's the electrical grid has never been the same. Like they try to fix everything with like duct tape, I swear. And it's just like, cool, thanks guys.
But everything's good now, knock on wood. So we'll see what happens. But welcome to Take Me Out. We are here, and we're glad you're here. This is wonderful. And we're going to be talking ballparks and baseball. This is what we do on this podcast. We are the ultimate podcast about going to the ball game and going to ballparks, eating, drinking, seeing, doing all the things that come with actually attending a baseball game. We don't really talk about the teams. We don't talk about what's happening in baseball. Yes, my Phillies are playing well. Yes, your Astros have been kind of shaky, but we're not really talking.
31 straight innings without scoring a run. And we finally won the game last night.
Finally won a game. There you go.
Yeah.
But we don't really talk about the teams. We really just talk about the experience of baseball, what it's like at the ballparks, and all the news that's happening at all the ballparks, changes, developments, all those things. And the reason we do this is I always do this every week. This is the big plug. This is the book that I wrote. It's 2 editions. It's called Baseball Road Trip by Moon Travel Guides. And I wrote the first edition back in 2021. The second edition came out last year. And it is the ultimate guide to all the ballparks, what to do in the ballparks, around the ballparks, and in the cities where the ballparks are. If you are one of those people that are trying to go to all the ballparks, checking off every single one, this is the book that you need. This actual book, this one with Oriole Park and Camden Yards on it. There is a first edition with Wrigley Field on it that Alex has. I have to get you the second edition. I keep saying I'm going to get you the other edition. It's not like I have to mail it. I could just drive it to you. You're right. 15 minutes away from me. So this is right here. So that's the book. And then from that, we have the podcast, Take Me Out. And so we are really excited that you're here listening, and we will tell you throughout this podcast, in fact, in about 2 seconds, how to share this podcast to other people, what you tell people, and just basically where you can find us on social media and things like that, so that you can be more interactive with us. We will, on this episode, kind of go through the league a little bit more, do some banter. We have a couple things to talk about, and more bad fan behavior. My God, this has been it's been the topic of the year, is bad fan behavior at the ballparks, and we really need to kind of dig into this a little bit more. We will also talk about good fan behavior and good player behavior. The Little League Classic was this past weekend in Pennsylvania, and we are going to talk all about Williamsport and the Little League World Series and all that fun stuff, so stay tuned for that. We'll have some ballpark news in just a few seconds. We're going to talk about the Dodger Stadium Gondola issue. We're going to talk about the Brewers and a celebration they have coming up, and a very, very key anniversary in Baltimore Orioles history. But first, Alex, like I said, we're going to do more plugs. This podcast has been around for, about a half a year now. It's been quite a while. Yeah, and we are trying to grow this audience more and more. So, Alex, tell people who are listening now how they can help us grow that audience.
I'd love to. You can give us a follow on Instagram. We are on Instagram at TakeMeOutPod. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/ or just at Take Me Out Pod. We're also on YouTube right now. Hello, YouTube, if you're watching us on YouTube.
I'm here. You're here. Yes.
I'm here. We're all here. It's great. YouTube.com/Take Me Out Pod. And then we also have a Patreon. We'd love for y'all to sign up. You can either do a $3 level, that is the Lowe's level. And then we also have the $5 level, which is the field level. Field level is going to get you just a little bit more extra perks, kind of gets you a bit more in-depth analysis of where you're going to be going with the ballparks in the cities, all that kind of stuff, which you'll also be getting with the Lowe's level as well. This won't be as, not inclusive, what's the phrase I'm looking for? I don't know. What do you think, Tim? Why do you feel the rest of that?
I'm not sure, but I don't know what word you're looking for.
We're still doing coffee right now.
Well, no, but the Lowe's level and the field level will both get you special episodes of Take Me Out, guides and reviews and all fun stuff that we're going to be doing over the course of time here. And then the field level, which is $2 more a month, $5 a month, that will get you more sort of fun stuff. We have signed copies of Baseball Road Trips, stuff that I want to do with my art and stuff that I want to do to kind of just, say thank you to people who are paying a little bit more money to listen to us. So if you go to patreon.com/Take Me Out, $3 is the Lowe's level. That's the introductory level. $5 is the field level. That is the expanded level, I guess. If we get a lot of people interested and we, that kind of thing, maybe we'll boost it up a little bit more. We'll see. I would love to, we'd love to get supporters. We'd love to grow a community here. We also would like to keep the lights on in that we want to pay for it. Look, it does cost money to host the podcast on some sort of a hosting site. It does cost money to, have this equipment. It does cost money and time for us to do our thing. So support us if you can. Grow our community if you can. Patreon.com/Take Me Out.
Would love that.
Yes, thank you. And let's get into ballpark news.
Absolutely. We're going to start again with, we're going to start in California with the Dodgers Gondola project meets heavy backlash from local residents.
There was a rally at Dodger Stadium, or in LA, not really Dodger Stadium. There was a rally in LA. I think that was outside City Hall, August 18th. That was with local officials and residents. So just several days ago, if you're listening to this on Friday, there is a bill in the California State Legislature. It's SB 71, Senate Bill 71, which would exempt certain transportation projects from certain environmental regulations. And so one of those projects that would be exempt from those regulations would be the LA Aerial Gondola Project. Now, we talked about this gondola project in previous episodes. Essentially, the Dodgers would love to have an aerial gondola. If you've not heard of these things, there are a lot of these companies. Most of them are investment, firms, these, startup businesses, basically coming off of Google and other tech businesses. A bunch of people come together and say, let's invest into doing aerial gondolas, which these businesses are. You hop in, it's almost like you hop in like the ski lift kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You hop in this little cab thing, you go up in the air, and then it takes you on, this sort of wire system that takes you across the way to the next station. And there are cities in America that are trying to sort of look in and develop these systems. In Texas, in fact, there's a couple cities in North Texas that are interested in having aerial gondolas. So they are partnering up.
Transportation in North Texas, anywhere in Texas, that's shocking.
Yeah, but these are small. These are smaller cities that have sort of enough of a population that people need to get around in the main streets, but the population growth is so much that they can't really expand with more roadways and things like that. So they're trying to find ways to create public transportation without being on the roadways and polluting things, which makes sense, but it's a very interesting way to go. But these aerial gondolas are developed by these, investment firms and these startups and things like that. And so they're partnering up with these cities to come up with these plans, and they go through city council. They go through all these different, regulations. They have to pass all these things. And so LA is trying to do the same thing. And the idea would be to connect people from Union Station in Los Angeles to Dodger Stadium, because it is, look, LA, you can't really build anywhere around those streets in LA. The streets are what they are. The structures are what they are. You're talking about hillsides. You're talking about, earth that is already, Dodger Stadium. To build Dodger Stadium, they had to tear up earth, and they had to tear up homes that were, part of a community. And that's a whole story that maybe hopefully we'll get into at some point in this podcast. But to tear up anything in LA takes a lot of work. And a lot of things lands are protected, and it's just difficult. So to come up with an aerial gondola project, that means you're not tearing up anything. You just have to build up. You're going up in the air and you're going across. And that actually will help. I think, like I said before, if any ballpark in America could use an aerial gondola, it is Dodger Stadium because of the terrain around Dodger Stadium. It is around hills and stuff like that. But also it is absolutely difficult to get in and out of that ballpark because of the terrain. There are only so few exits out and in of Dodger Stadium. And so it takes a long time to get to the park. It takes a long time to get out of the park. People joke about how long it takes fans to get to the game and they don't show up till the fourth inning. It's because it's hard to get there. Like, I've done it. It's hard to get into Dodger Stadium. Taking an Uber is actually like, it's like an arm and a leg. It's much more of a process than it is in any other city. So an aerial gondola would be a very interesting and fast way to do this. But the Dodgers want to get this done before the World Cup in next year, I believe, or not the World Cup. The World Cup's next year. The Olympics in LA are in 2028, and so they want to get this done before the Olympics.
They're behind schedule then.
Yeah, I misspoke. Yeah, because the World Cup will be in LA, but not there. But the Olympics will be at Dodger Stadium, among other venues. And so they want to have the gondola project for the Olympics. Critics are saying that the bill, so we're back to SB 71, which is the bill that's saying, hey, let's, exempt these projects from environmental regulations. Basically, this would speed up the process to get the gondola in place. But of course, it does mean that you're skirting environmental regulations, and there could be problems that come up in the future. So critics of this bill, which is authored by State Senator Scott Wiener, who is from the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, critics are saying that it's taking a voice away from local officials, that the state is basically trying to do the bidding for the Dodgers and, their ownership and, just trying to like leap over any LA voices here. It's rumored that the project would take about $500 million. It's uncertain whether taxpayers would foot the bill on this. So again, that's also part of it. People in LA are saying, hey, this whole project, A, it's going to be a huge construction project. B, it could be environmentally unsafe. Who knows if they don't do the right testing? And C, it could cost us a lot of money because we don't know if we have to pay it on our end as taxpayers. So they want to have their voice in this, which I totally agree with. I think, anytime you have a project like this with a lot of public funding, potentially, you want to make sure all the voices are heard and everything is, locked up and all the T's are crossed and all that. So that they really do have to go through this, but speed is the issue right now. And the Dodgers are trying to get this, and McCourt's trying to get this through before they can't with the Olympics coming up in a couple of years. So I don't know. I think the gondola is a great idea for Dodger Stadium. Like I said, if any ballpark could have a gondola, it should be Dodger Stadium. But you can't do that, at the expense of taxpayers in Los Angeles.
No, it's there's so much happening with this. Sorry, I'm still struggling this morning. The people just kind of want to get things done without thinking about ramifications. And if the taxpayers are going to be footing the bill, they should absolutely 1,000% have a say. And I'd be upset too if they were trying to shove this thing through. They've been shoving things through around the country right now, but I hope that they can have a say. At least have some sort of a public hearing where you can have a public debate about it. But man,
and I will say, like, this is one of the massive problems, and really probably the problem that comes with the Olympics. The IOC, picks a place. Says, you're the guys, you're doing it. Congratulations. You're going to get all this tourism money. You're going to get all these kickbacks. It's going to be wonderful for you, et cetera, et cetera. And then they come out, and it's 2.5 weeks or whatever, and it's over. And there's really the benefit, as we've seen over time, the benefit for these Olympic sites is very little. A lot of these Olympic sites, they have to build new venues. They have to have the infrastructure. They have to change things around. The people who live in those cities and those regions maybe have to move out for a couple of weeks and just sort of like be away from it. And it causes congestion, and it causes, pollution, and it causes all these problems for these areas. LA can sort of handle the Olympics, which I think is why one of the reasons it is going to do the Olympics, because also you're going to take areas around LA as part of, the Olympic experience. In fact, there's even venues I think that are not even in California. There's like some venue, like it's very like that's how the Olympics work these days. It's like you'll have most of the venues, and then
like
there's
LA-ish,
and then there's like a venue in like Colorado. It's like what, but. LA could sort of handle it, but also like infrastructure wise. And I mean, you just think about the dynamics of the population in LA. There's a lot of low cost housing, things like that. Like they can't handle that either. Like, I mean, people talk about when the Olympics were in Brazil, or the World Cup was in Brazil. And, you think about like all the hubbub going on here. And then across the way, you have the favelas and you have the poor Brazilians and what they were going through. And, they're basically, not even thought of in that situation. So, the IOC comes in, they sweep in, they do their thing, and then they leave. And then it's like, well, what's left? And you look at like Atlanta, they did the Olympics back in 1996, and they, created an entirely new venue for the Olympics, Olympic Stadium, which became Turner Field. What is Turner Field now? It is a football stadium for what, Georgia Southern or whatever it is now.
Oh, is it really now? Okay.
Yeah, and like that has dwindled in value exponentially. Yeah. Now, part of that is because the Braves have decided to up and leave for tax breaks and for potentially, an audience that would, quote unquote, pay for the experience, whatever. I have my own issues with that. We've talked about that whole thing. But what happens is cities get destroyed in some way. And in LA, you don't want that to happen. I think the Gondola project's a good idea ultimately, but I wouldn't do this at the expense of people, especially if it concerns speed with the Olympics. Do it on your own time. Do it because you think it's the right move for fans and for Dodger Stadium and for the experience for people going to ball games regularly there. Don't do it just because you need to have it in place for 2.5 weeks of hubbub, because you could find other ways, right? People have to get through that. So that's my take.
Yeah, this is the good way of doing something, because or just building up, not having to tear down neighborhoods like they did for Dodger Stadium, and not building like this a massive stadium that's going to be put up really quickly, probably not with the best materials, but probably not with the best the good budget or anything, just because they need to get it done in a certain period of time. And then when they're done, it just sits there and rots. And like when you have so much room in that lane, you could have built like affordable housing for people, or instead of just having this an eyesore that's just going to sit and rot. Because that's what's happened in other countries that have hosted the Olympics. They build these stadiums, they build these arenas, and then once this, couple weeks long event is done, then it sits there and no one knows what to do with it. And it's like, cool. And it's like, how much money did that cost? Like what? How many people did you have to use to build that? And how many neighborhoods did you have to destroy for that? That's wasteful. No. But I think that building up and for something that could be used for public transportation, I think that's a great idea. But I do think for sure that the people of LA should have a say in it.
The last thing you want is like 30 years from now, you go to Dodger Stadium and you see this giant tower and you're like, what was that? Oh, that was the gondola that they you don't want that. So, we'll see. But that's the gondola stuff. Okay, let's move on.
All right. The Brewers are to honor the late Bob Uecker with a special event.
Yes, Bob Uecker, who passed away January 16th at age 90, the great Bob Uecker. He's going to be honored coming up this weekend. If you're listening to this Friday or Saturday, it'll be Sunday, August 24th. So this is great. Obviously, it was in the plans for the Brewers. They have a couple things that they've announced for this. I just wanted to mention this because there's not a lot going on, honestly, but this is also just, Bob Uecker was in many ways sort of the epitome of baseball for a lot of people. And I mean, I grew up with Bob Uecker as far as he was on Mr. Belvedere as the dad, and he was in Miller Lite commercials and Miller High Life commercials, whatever. I think it was Miller Lite commercials. And he was, he was Harry Doyle in Major League and in Major League 2. And, just a great actor, very funny, little ribald, but great guy. From what I've, not great, I don't know him, but from what I've, watched and all that stuff, he was obviously representative of baseball for a lot of people, especially in Milwaukee. They're going to have a program before the 1:10 p.m. game against the Giants on August 24th. Included in this program, Bob Costas is going to host the pregame thing. That'll be cool. Bob Costas apparently, lifelong friends with Bob Uecker. I feel like I remember seeing Bob Costas and Bob Uecker together, like on like bought Johnny Carson's couch or something in 1983 or something like that. I don't know. Eileen Graff, who was Uecker's TV wife on Mr. Belvedere, will sing the Star Spangled Banner, which is great. I didn't know where Eileen Graff was, but there she is, and she's going to sing the Star Spangled Banner. Great little reunion. Sadly,
I'm sure a certain age graphic will love that.
I'll love that. Sadly, Mr. Belvedere himself, the actor, he is long gone. He will not be there. Did you know that he once sat on his testicles and injured himself?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Of the things that I could have gone.
It's you know what? No. I'm sorry. Like that is a joke it's been on Twitter a lot. There's I forget the name of the person on Twitter who used to do that. But it's I don't think it's an actual real story, but it became like this the clip
that's in my mind. I think it's like some European TV show or an interview kind of thing where that's like a panelist on the stage and a guy.
Oh yeah. And he crosses his legs.
And you see him go, oh yeah. And you're like, oh, we know what happened there.
Yeah. No,
I was like, was that him?
I just came out of nowhere with that Twitter joke, but I mean, it's a real joke and it's a funny one. Okay. Also, there will be a uniform patch and some memorabilia as well, but that's great. Bob Uecker. I mean, for those of you who haven't been to American Family, there's a lot of Uecker in the ballpark. Have you been to American Family? Right?
Not. That is one of the 7 I still.
Oh no, you haven't. Okay, that's one of the ones. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, when you go to American Family, you have. I mean, it's sad because he's gone now, but up to last season when he was doing play-by-play, you could actually walk American Family the concourse and you'll hear they pipe in the radio broadcasts everywhere. So you would be able to hear Bob Uecker talking as you're walking the concourse, which is just a cool little feature that most parks don't, like most parks don't pipe in the radio broadcast, especially. They might have, in the bathrooms, you might hear the radio broadcast.
Yeah.
Yes. But and
sometimes
on the TV, you'll see the game.
Yeah,
but it's really cool to hear it in the concourse. But also you have Bob Uecker. I think is retired. I think up in they have their retired numbers. I think somewhere in the outfield area up top. And then also you have the Bob Uecker statue. There's a statue that is located right near sort of home plate, I think first baseline at the very last row at the very top of the ballpark. So the joke is that Bob Uecker was in this commercial for Miller Lite many years ago, back in the 80s. And he was talking about how great Miller Lite is. It tastes great, less filling, all that. And he was he was coming down to the front row of the ballpark, sitting right there by the field. And he was talking about how, I got all the perks. I got Miller Lite. I got the best seat in the house. And someone comes up to him and goes, "Excuse me, Mr. Uecker, this is not your seat. I'll usher you to your seat." He goes, "Oh, I must be in the front row." He does that. Cut to Uecker sitting at the very top of the ballpark, he's kind of doing his thing. And so the Brewers, very smartly, decided to create a statue of Uecker sitting down at a chair at the very top row of American Family Field. And it's really funny. Go up there, take a picture with it, because there's 2 seats. There's Uecker in his seat, and then there's a blank seat next to an empty seat. And you could sit in the empty seat and take a picture with Uecker. So it's great. It's really phenomenal. You got to do that when you're in American Family.
I will. I'm going to try to get the rest of them, not the rest, but a good chunk of them done next summer. Because, they're all kind of up in the same area. It's like Milwaukee, Cleveland, Detroit, Cincinnati. Those are the ones I haven't been to. And
we're gonna have to schedule. We're gonna have to make that trip for you. I think we have to plan that trip out. I think you could do So you said what? Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Cincinnati, and what else? Detroit. So you could do all 4 in 6 days. I would say. Mm-hmm. You could easily do Milwaukee, Detroit, and Cleveland in back to back, even. 3 days in a row if it lines up, if you want to do that. But you could do all 4 in 6 days, and that would be a huge fun trip. So
I'm hoping there's a lot of baseball is played, so I'm hoping that we can figure something out.
There is baseball all the time.
Yes, I love it. I wish all the time. All right, Baltimore, the Orioles are to mark 30 years since 21-31 Day.
Yeah, this is a seminal moment in my childhood as a baseball fan. So Sunday, September 6th, the Orioles will mark the 30-year anniversary of the night Cal Ripken Jr. broke the record for most consecutive games played at 21-31. They will do so with a pregame morning track ride in a Corvette. I believe it was a similar thing when he broke the record. They had him ride around the warning track in a car, or he took a lap. He might have just walked the whole thing. It might have been just a walk. There will be remarks by Ripken. There will be a first pitch thrown by his son, Ryan Ripken. There'll be several special guests on hand, including former Orioles legends. I think Harold Baines will be there, and Eddie Murray will be there, and several other big-time Orioles greats and other notables, and also Commissioner Rob Manfred. He'll be there too. But this is, look, I was 10 years old when he broke that record. So it was September 6th, 1995. I was 10 years old, about to turn 11, and you were a fan, I'm sure, at the same time. And so I just remember, I was 8 and 9 years old in 1993 when my Phillies suddenly were the best team in baseball. They just were hot and they were fun, and they had a bunch of macho dudes with hair, and they were disgusting, but they were cool. I was an 8, 9-year-old boy. You couldn't have pictured a better way for me to really I was into baseball, and I went to games, and I loved baseball, and I kept score and all that. But the 93 Phillies were oh my God, this is it. This is my team. And so I fell deeply in love with the game that season. Went to an NLCS game, went to a World Series game. They were my boys. 1994 starts, they didn't win the World Series, but they were the talk of baseball. They were. John Kruk was on David Letterman all the time, and Darren Dalton was doing this, and Lenny Dykstra was doing that. And I remember Fleer Ultra, the card set, had the Phillies' finest card series, where they did a whole series of cards that were John Kruk and Lenny Dykstra, I think, or something like that. And so there was so much of a special vibe around the Phillies at that time in 93, 94. And 94 starts, and they kind of get off to a slower start, but they're still decent. And then the strike happened. And the strike just killed everything, right? I was 9 years old when the strike hit, peak baseball, coming up in the world kind of thing. And it just ended it. And they say that, the strike killed more than anything baseball in Montreal, which is true. Montreal suffered the most out of the strike. Yeah. I believe that Philadelphia was probably second or third on the list of cities that were absolutely killed by the strike, because there was so much of a fever. There was so much of an excitement about the Phillies at that time. They probably would not have been that good at the end of 94, even in 95, because they were a special team in 93. They were kind of old. They were put together by glue, but there was an excitement that was real there, and then it was sellouts all the time, and then just fell apart. And so 94 was tough. The rest of that summer at 95, I remember my family went through a lot in 94, 95, a lot. And there was a lot of dark times in my family, and it was a tough time for me as a kid. And then, my favorite player in all of baseball, Cal Ripken Jr., he was my favorite player. I wanted to be a shortstop. I played shortstop in baseball, all that. He was my guy. He goes and he breaks the record in September of 95. And it was just, ESPN was it was all that game, and they stopped the game for 28 minutes or something in the middle of the fifth inning when the game became official. And they were playing Whitney Houston in the background, and they did the lap and the fans, and Chris Berman was narrating it. It felt like a watershed moment in baseball history and a watershed moment in American history. We came out of this really crappy strike, and people were down on baseball, and here was Ripken to kind of bring everything back up a little bit more. And that was such an amazing moment. And so I wish I could go. I don't think I'll be able to get to Baltimore on September 6th, but it's going to be a really awesome day, and I think it's it's going to be one to remember. It'll be really fun to see that.
I love it. Do you, off the top of your head, because I'm not nearly as educated in baseball as you are with the history. It is history. Yeah. What was the record that he broke? Who was it?
Lou Gehrig.
Lou Gehrig. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. Lou Gehrig was 21-30.
Random guy. Yeah, geez.
Yeah, just a random player. No, Lou Gehrig was 21-30, and obviously, Lou Gehrig, end of his career, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and his career ended kind of prematurely. But, yeah, Ripken broke the record, and it was, to many, a record that could never be broken, because how could you play 2,131 straight games, without missing one. And how could you start those games? You think about, that's it's years upon years upon years of baseball. 162 games, 21-31. You're talking 17 seasons or something like that. And you don't get hurt. You don't get hurt enough to miss a game.
Sick?
You don't get sick. You're not bad enough to be benched, right? Like you have to be good to play every game. And so Ripken was like,
the longer you think about it, it's like that is inhuman because
it is.
You have life experiences. It's you're lucky. You get stared at death in the family. It's so many things. God, the longer I think about it, jeez, dude, that's insane.
So it'll be a lot of fun. I wish I could be there, but it'll be and like Orioles and their fans get. The Orioles have, they kind of screwed up everything this year with that team. But the fans get something this year, which is really nice because those fans deserve something after what has been a really bad year for them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the news for this week around the ballparks. We'll be back in just a moment. We're going to do more banter. We're going to talk about some fan behavior, and then we will we'll sprinkle some magic and we'll sprinkle some positivity on things by talking about the Little League Classic in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Stay with us on Take Me Out. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Take Me Out, the ultimate podcast about baseball, ballparks, and the baseball experience. That's what we are. I'm Tim, and that's Alex. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Tim.
I just all over like. We're
still working on coffee, friends. It's
we're almost through the first cup.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this a couple times this season, and I feel like this has been the season of it. Bad fan behavior. I don't know if what is it? Like, is it because it's a lot of things, I'm sure, but they stop, like the games are faster, so people are getting in the alcohol probably quicker and
before
sooner.
They can metabolize it, all that.
Yeah, so like people are drinking earlier, right? Also millennials, who are mostly the ones, tabbed in these things. We drink more than any other generation, I think. We are the drinking generation, sadly. I drink quite a bit, and you don't, and that's good. But we're trying to regulate those things. Also, I think it's social media. I think it's probably the tenor of politics and how people feel more emboldened to be just more vitriolic toward people and to say what they feel, and it's negative and it's disgusting. I think there's more of a, people just feel like enabling to do that, right? Like there's just, I think that's part of it. I think it's also, I don't know. I wonder if it's because everybody's more public than they ever have been, right? Like people are public on social media, people are public on podcasts, things like that. Like you just feel like, hey, I can just say what I want, whatever. I don't know. There have been a lot of these situations this season, especially.
Many of them, so many.
And I feel like the watershed moment was last year in the World Series when the Yankee fan, basically like tore off Mookie Betts' arm, and that whole situation. And that guy has been like kind of lionized, as well as like some people have been like, no, that guy did the wrong thing, he should be banned and all that jazz, which correct. But then some people were like, oh, he's a mascot for New York fans, they don't give an F, whatever. It's just like we are at a point now where it's just too much. And so a couple of things happened last week in Los Angeles at Angel Stadium, in Anaheim, at Angel Stadium. There was a fight between a man in a Mike Trout jersey and another guy in a black shirt in the row in front of him. There was also a Dodger fan who was in the row above the Mike Trout jersey guy. So apparently, like, there was this big fight. It was over a hat. The victim was it started because someone was accused of stealing a hat, and one guy started punching on the guy in the row in front of him, and the Trout guy, who was the one who was punching him, fell back in his seat. A Dodger fan above him started kicking him. So it was this like Trout fan, the Trout guy was punching the guy in front of him. The guy above the Trout fan retaliated against the Trout guy. So it was this whole thing. So ultimately, the primary guy, who I guess was the guy in the Trout jersey, was charged with felony assault. The other guy, who was the guy who kicked the Trout fan, was charged with misdemeanor assault. And the victim, the victim didn't want to talk to media and didn't want to be taken to the hospital. So I don't know what happened there. But that's just, like, stealing a hat. Like, why are we fighting? Why are we fighting over these things? Like that. Like, it's ridiculous. And there was another thing that happened at Busch Stadium. This is ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. This isn't even like a violent situation.
This is stupid.
So a guy named Deion J. Murphy, apparently accused of stealing a beer and then a gondola to carry the beer from Busch Stadium. So he stole beer and then stole a gondola, put the beer in the gondola, and tried to leave Busch Stadium with the beer in the gondola.
What gondola?
I don't know.
I'm thinking, like, did he... I'm thinking like the gondolas in Venice. I'm thinking of the gondolas and the potential gondolas at Dodger Stadium. I'm like, what is that? What they guess the beer tub? What?
Yeah, maybe it is like a beer tray or some sort of a thing to sell beer with, because this guy apparently left Busch Stadium and allegedly tried to sell the beer outside of Busch Stadium. So he stole. So he's trying to basically make a quick buck by stealing $750 worth of goods. And that's how much he stole, apparently. This was back on July 28th.
8 beers. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. 8 beers. So this is back on July 28th. He was charged with 1 felony count of stealing. The third thing that happened, and this happened very recently, August 17th, the Marlins playing the Red Sox at Lone Depot. This was at Fenway Park, excuse me, not at Lone Depot. This is at Fenway Park. So I'm going to read this from, what is this from? This is from People, okay? Quote, Miami Marlins right fielder Dane Myers could no longer ignore a fan heckling him throughout his game against the Red Sox. So he hollered back, hit a game-tying home run, and eventually watched as the fan was escorted out by ballpark security.
I love happy endings. I love happy endings.
Karma's great. Karma's great.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, so... Myers is getting heckled by a bunch of fans, and one in particular. And apparently it wasn't, we don't know what was said. Myers didn't tell reporters what was said. And a reporter asked if it was inappropriate, and Myers said, quote, maybe so. He didn't want to get into that. Probably drinking some beers out there, having a good time. It's a baseball game. So he was trying to kind of move away from it, brush it off, not try to make it a bigger deal than it already was. But Myers did say to the fan after he was getting heckled, quote, would you be saying this if you were on the field right in my face? That's what he told the fan. He told reporters that. And then he said that was basically the one guy that kind of got the whole section going. So one guy was being really rude and lewd, apparently, reportedly, allegedly. And then Myers kind of shot back to him, like sort of nicely, and kind of let it go. And then hit a game-tying home run. And then and then the fan got ejected from the game for being too lewd, obviously. This has just been happening so much, right? Jared Duran got heckled and in really like vitriolic ways. Duran, for those who forget, some months ago, Duran was on a podcast talking about how he's had a lot of bouts with depression and a lot of challenges with that, and coming out the other side of it, and trying to triumph over a lot of obstacles in his life, and that's fantastic and great for him.
I love that. Yeah.
He was then heckled by fans, and I forget where this was. I forget where this was, but he was heckled by a fan who was then saying things about his challenges with depression. And obviously you're talking about like things like suicide and things like that. It's terrible stuff. And there have been other episodes of fans saying things to players, fans kind of reaching in and trying to grab the ball when it's live in play, fans starting fights with vendors. We had the story of the fan who started a fight with a vendor at PNC Park, said some things to him. And so we've had so many of these things over the past several weeks. It's just really gotten out of control. And I'm wondering, like, what do we do? Like, what is the answer to all this? Because I feel like the answer, sadly, is going to be stricter security or some sort of you can't bring food and drink into the game, or beer sales maybe stop completely. They're not going to stop beer sales. Beer, they obviously like make a lot of money off of beer in baseball. So do they make beer sales only last until the fourth inning? Do they track how many beers you get? Like typically you can only get like 2 beers at a time at the stand. Can you only get one per person, or would it be a thing where you get your beer and then you're given a stamp, or they whatever?
I'm thinking like those wristbands where they have the things you could tear off.
Yeah, like is there going to be like some way to like regulate people's beer drinking at a ball game? Where do we go from here, essentially, is the question.
I don't know. And this is something that I think we constantly, I feel like it's almost every week now. It's like, what can we do to remedy the situation? And it's just, I do think security needs to be beefed up. I know it's not around the league, because I know when the games started getting shorter and everything, they like in Park, they said, oh no, we're going to do beer sales the entire game, because they used to be 7th inning was the cutoff.
Right.
But now it's the entire game. And so I'm wondering if, I don't think that's league wide, but I think it does need to be league wide, but back to 7th inning. I know these games are shorter now. I know that all these beer companies are probably not going to make as much money, but it's you got to think about safety. I know so much of this world is revolving around money, but these are people's lives, because people could get hurt, people could get killed. It's just the most basic, simple things. It's about respect, because some people, alcohol amplifies so much.
And this is a point that I don't think people really make when it comes to alcohol and ballparks and baseball games. And this should be brought out, and people should talk about this. The alcohol that they sell at ballparks these days is so much stronger than the alcohol that they were selling at ballparks 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It used to be you would go to the ballpark, you would have Miller Lite or Bud Light or whatever macro, and it would be 4 or 5% at most or whatever. I mean, before the craft beer movement really took hold and these craft breweries became more mainstream, you would have these super high ABV beers sold at ballparks. They couldn't get into the ballparks. But now you have craft breweries and even the macro breweries, the Budweisers and things, trying to we have these beers. And so you're seeing 7, 8, 9% beers being sold at ballparks. I mean, I was at Citizens Bank Park back in July with my dad, and we each had a 9% IPA, because we were like, oh, this is really good. We should have this. And so it's 9%. And they give it to you in a huge, 24-ounce can or whatever the hell it is. Like a big can.
Tall boy kind of a thing? Oh my God.
Yeah, they sell them in tall boys. So you're getting 1.5 beers at 9% ABV. So if you have 2 of those beers, you're getting 3 beers at 9% ABV. You could get 3 beers, and then you're having 4.5 beers. And that is too many beers.
And then suddenly you're hungover, in the 8th inning or whatever.
Or you're just drunk and you're being looser and you're just saying whatever you're saying. Also, ballparks are selling wine, just wine, right? Every ballpark now has some sort of a wine vendor, whether it is just, they have a vendor, they have a restaurant, or there's even at Oracle Park, they have a stand that is, I think, near home plate that is, really nicely put together, and it's wood, and they have all these really cool Napa Valley and Sonoma wines, and you can actually have a really decent wine. You got to pay $25 for a glass, but you're also getting a pretty big glass. And it's, it's a glass of wine. I mean, those, wine is how much percent ABV, right?
12, 13.
13%. Yeah. So if you're having one glass of wine, that's, 10 ounces or something like that at 12, 13%, that's not nothing, right? Also, these ballparks are selling boozy cocktails. You get a cocktail at any ballpark now. You can get boozy margaritas. Here in Houston, we have probably the booziest margarita you've ever had at a ballpark.
Yeah, and that's been in the news too lately.
The El Tiempo margarita, the frozen margarita, is super boozy. And they don't track how many you can get. You can get 2 at a time, but you can go back again later and get another 2.
I'm wondering if there's something they could with the ballpark app or something to make it utilized with that? Like, if you could show something on your phone, or they scan something on your phone?
Yeah, you scan. Yeah, like you get like a drink allotment. I mean,
yeah,
we should be having the freedom to choose what we want to do and freedom to be able to drink and eat as much as we want because we're Americans. We're free, et cetera, et cetera. But we are not smart as people.
No,
I mean, clearly,
no.
like all this freedom does not, create a country that is tolerant and thoughtful and reasonable all the time. And so, like, do we have to regulate because there is this subsection of people in this country that can't handle themselves and need to overdrink and overdo things? Yeah. So
bad apple spoils a bunch. You start behaving badly, you need to get there needs to be behavior corrections, and then you get privileges taken away from you.
It sucks. It really sucks.
It really does. And there's fan contracts. When you buy these tickets, you are essentially signing contracts. That's how they can legally remove you from the game.
Yes, and on top of it all, every ballpark now before the game, you have your ballpark entertainment district. You have your bars, you have your restaurants, you have your places to go before the game to have a drink or two or three or four. And so it can get out of control really quick. It can get out of control really quick. And so there might be something. I mean, look. When you go to, we went to a Barcelona FC match last year when we were in Spain, a La Liga match. It was Barcelona. I forget who they're playing, but it was a league match, and they don't sell alcohol at the stadium at all. Oh. They don't.
Wow.
You have to get it in before the game, before the match, and now. Some stadiums are close to a lot of things, right? But in Barcelona was playing in the Olympic Stadium because their regular Camp Nou was getting renovated. So they were playing in an alternative stadium. But you have to walk quite a distance to get to the stadium. So you walk off quite a bit of the alcohol that you've had already. So by the time you get to the stadium, you're you could be pretty sober, right? Like you're not really in a bad place typically. Right. So a lot of soccer stadiums, a lot of football stadiums do not allow you to drink in the stadium because of soccer hooligans and riots and things like that over the years. Yeah. So do we have to go there? I don't know, because obviously these baseball teams are, beer is a big advertiser. It's a lot of money, whatever. Yeah. But maybe
you got ballparks named after beer places.
Yeah.
It's just
alcohol. You have teams named after beer and
we have the Brewers.
Process of beer.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But it is a very interesting conversation that we're gonna have to have as fans over the next several years. How
you gotta wonder. It's at what point are we gonna start saying this is why we can't have nice things?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But there are nice things, and there are nice things that have happened in baseball. And I wanted to transition to this really quick. Last weekend was the Little League Classic. They've been doing this every year now for 10 years now, I think. It's been about 10 years of this, where Major League Baseball invades the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Williamsport is essentially the middle of Pennsylvania, a little bit more north of complete center. But it has hosted the Little League World Series for decades upon decades upon decades. And Major League Baseball does the cool thing where on the Sunday afternoon of the first weekend of the Little League World Series in Williamsport, before all the big games happen, they do a Sunday night game at Bowman Field, which is, I think, the biggest ballpark there, I think now. Journey Bank Ballpark at historic Bowman Field. I think that's actually, I want to say that's the minor league park, I think, at Williamsport, whereas the other ballparks are the Little League parks. But anyways, it's a capacity 2,500 ballpark. I believe it's the single A ballpark. I think it's where the Williamsport Crosscutters play. And I should look this up because the Williamsport Crosscutters, by the way, were, maybe still are, a Phillies affiliate.
Okay.
See, this is sad because I used to be very up on Phillies minor league stuff. They are a collegiate summer baseball team of the MLB Draft League, so they are no longer affiliated with the Phillies. So they stopped. Okay, so this shows you how much I stopped really watching a lot of being really into the Phillies and their minor league system. They were with the Phillies until 2020. And then they became, because remember there was that big, after COVID, they decided to slash a lot of the minor league teams. And
they, that was awful.
So now they're part of the collegiate summer baseball stuff. So after the draft, the draft pool, they could play in in this league and played with the Crosscutters. But the Crosscutters have been in Williamsport for a long time, and they play out of, I believe, Journey Bank Stadium. Journey Bank Ballpark at Historic Bowman Field. So that's where they had the game, 2,500 capacity. They invite all the teams, the Little League teams that are in the World Series. So there's 20 Little League teams from across the world that come to Williamsport for the World Series. All the teams are invited to be there, plus their families and their coaches. That takes up basically like 2,000 probably seats. And then you fill in the rest with, Major League Baseball guests and things like that. I don't know if you can even get tickets to it. I'm not sure. But they had the game August 17th. The Mets beat the Mariners in the game 7-3. Typically what they do.
Because like in the middle of the Astros, it's like this. I remember it was. Well, I kept losing, and the Mariners kept losing. I was like, okay, cool, this is good.
I wanted the Mariners to win the game, but that's
I'm sure. Yeah.
Because so it's not all you, but
what are you talking about? Stop it.
Yeah. What they usually do, though, is they have the home team, quote unquote, typically is a team that is close enough to Williamsport to where they can have a regular 2-game series at that team's ballpark. And then they fly out to Williamsport, early Sunday morning for the final game of the series. So the Mets have hosted this game before. The Phillies have. The Pirates have. The Phillies and the Pirates are the closest, really. And the Nationals are pretty close to the ballpark, too, when you think about distance. So the Phillies, the Pirates, the Mets, the Nationals, the Yankees. The Yankees have hosted the game. Yeah. I believe Cleveland has hosted the game before. The Guardians. And I don't know if the Chicago teams have, but it's basically that kind of, mid-Atlantic and then a little bit of the Midwest. Basically, it's, kind of settling on. But what's cool about the game is that it's a Sunday night game and all the kids are there and they get a chance to watch a Major League Baseball game. That's basically like intimate for them. It's a game for them. And but also the players who are in the game during the day on Sunday are there in Williamsport and they hang out and they go to Lamont Stadium, which is Howard J. Lamont Stadium, which is the great ballpark of the Little League World Series where they play the final and all that stuff. And they have the big hill there out in center field and the players go to the hill and they slide down the hill with, the Little League kids. And so Brandon Nimmo of the Mets was sliding down the hill at Lamont. And then once he gets done sliding down the hill in like his cardboard getup, the kids just like pack around him and want autographs. And so it's like,
this is so cool.
When you think about it,
it makes me feel so happy. I love that.
You're like an 11, 12-year-old kid, whatever, and you get to see Brandon Nimmo and Cal Raleigh, Big Dumper, Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Randy Arozarena, Julio Rodriguez, like some of the most popular players in baseball at this time. They're at this game and they're hanging out with you and they're like doing their thing and they're like kind of enjoying baseball with you in like a very natural, innocent way, just at the Little League World Series. Like that's really cool. The fact that they get to have those moments. And then did you see Lil Dumper?
No, I did not.
So the Little League team that represented the Northwest, they've been eliminated from the tournament. They're from Washington State. So a lot of the kids are Mariners fans. Okay. And one of the kids on the Washington team, the Northwest team, is, a little bit more of a stout gentleman, like, right? But he's apparently a big power hitter and his nickname is Lil Dumper. So he had a shirt that said Lil Dumper on it, and he and Cal Raleigh got to meet each other, and
I hope Cal signed it for him. That's so cool.
I'm sure. Yeah,
I love that. That makes me happy. That's what baseball is to be. It's just people just having fun and people looking up to their idols and just like I want to be great. I want to be better. Strive to be better. That's all you have to do. But children are our future, and that's kind of a hokey thing to say, but
I believe that children are the future. That's true.
Yeah, and you've got. I mean, it's been circling it all back around. It's set a good example. It's all you have to do, and like the kids don't want to start fights; they want to have fun at the game. And you're an adult, and you're acting how kids probably do behave, but like you're acting. But you've got alcohol in your system, and it's a mess, and. I love ending it with this story because this is a very good story. And
I mean, also coming off of the Speedway Classic that was a couple of weeks ago, which was this absolutely bloated, crazy, wet.
Money. It's just,
like people were upset. People spent a lot of money to go, and then they were let down, and it was suspended, and they ran out of food, and it was like the fire festival and all that stupidity. Like that
hot
compared,
dogs with no buns, paying the whole price.
That compared with the intimacy and the innocence and the just fun of the Little League Classic is, I think, what baseball needs to be shooting for. Stop doing the bloated, stop doing we need to make a lot of money and bring a lot of fans into a place and, create experiences and have Pitbull and Tim McGraw sing and whatever else. Like, let's just have a really fun experience and a baseball game that speaks to what baseball is about, which is sitting back and enjoying the game and being around friends and being around kids and letting them see the game and letting them have opportunities to see the game. Kids, like I say, when people ask me, like, what is the one thing you would do to change baseball? My answer is kids get in free at every game. Like if you are a kid age, if you want to do 14 and under, fine. Like, you're free. You are a free patron to a baseball game. Yeah, pay for a hot dog, pay for whatever, but tickets are free for kids. Like, it just should be the way it is.
I mean, a lot of teams do have like the Astros have the Buddies Club. I think it's it's like $50 a season, or I forgot how much it costs, but you get a backpack, you get socks, you get like on certain Sundays, the kids get to line up and run the bases, and they get to meet players and they get to meet Orbit, and it's a lot of fun. It gets kids interested in baseball, and even if they don't want to play baseball, it's like they can have something fun to do and have people to look up to, and it gets them involved and giving kids things to do in hobbies. It's so important, especially when you're young like that and impressionable.
Yeah, just more opportunities for kids. And maybe this gets, like, the Field of Dreams was a great idea. I think that should be mostly families. That should be kids, right? Like, Field of Dreams should honestly be like every player who's in the Field of Dreams game gets to invite their family to the Field of Dreams game. And then you invite, like, you do something where every team in baseball gets a family represented, or like you find a way to make that like a family experience game. And there are other ways, like I had this, great like idea of just more of these one-off games or series, where you play games in minor league parks or you play games in stadiums that you create that don't have to be the Speedway Classic. They could be smaller scale. They could be more intimate. You could play just on a regular diamond just and make the fence larger, right? Like, there are ways to make the game feel more like a kid game while still having that cool experience that Major League Baseball is always trying to chase. Like, the one thing that the Winter Classic in the NHL, doing it at ballparks and stadiums is fine, I guess, for the NHL because they're looking for that audience, and I understand what they're trying to do. But what the Winter Classic would be if it was really cool was you just go onto Lake Michigan in the middle of winter, and it's a frozen lake, and you play a hockey game on frozen Lake Michigan. Now, you can't insurance and all that. You're not going to do that, right? Like, they're not going to be able to make that happen. There's so much money to make that happen without, obviously, like, making it safe and all that stuff. But you got to find ways to make it feel like a kid event. Like, kids can feel like they're closer to the game than ever. That's what makes these games special. And so that's the idea. Little League World Series is this weekend. It ends. So Saturday is both the championship for the International and the United States. So the teams that are left, you have the Metro Region team, which is Connecticut. There's a team out of Connecticut that is playing the Mountain Region team, which is out of Nevada. So Nevada's playing Connecticut in the U.S. final. And then in the international final, you have Asia Pacific, which I believe is Chinese Taipei. And they are playing the Caribbean team, which is out of Aruba. And that is the international championship. And then the two teams that win those games will face off in the Little League World Series championship. That's Sunday afternoon. So it ends right here this weekend. So good luck to all the kids.
Yeah.
I'm sure all their families are listening.
Has fun as well.
Everybody have fun. Just have a good time. Okay. Well, that's it. We're going to move on and come back on Take Me Out with our final segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, you can give us a follow on Facebook. Follow Take Me Out. We're on Facebook.com/TakeMeOutPod. We're also on Instagram. Our handle is @TakeMeOutPod. And then we're also on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. YouTube.com/TakeMeOutPod. I did not mention this at the top of the episode, and I do apologize. if you're listening to us right now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, whatever your podcast platform of your choice, do us a massive favor. Give us a wonderful, fully rounded 5-star review. Like, comment, subscribe, share. 5 stars. Very simple. We would definitely appreciate it. And then we're also on Patreon. We got 2 tiers. We got the Lowe's level for $3 and the field level for $5. You get just a little bit of extra content. You're going to have the city guide, so the ballparks. You're going to have the ballpark guides more in depth. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we appreciate your support on that as well.
Patreon.com/take me out.
Take me out, yes. Sorry.
Lowe's level is $3. Field level is $5. And please check us out there and subscribe and become a patron. Because everybody's a patron these days. Everybody's a patron. Yeah. Welcome back. And final segment on Take Me Out. So in honor of the Little League Classic and the fun one-off, as opposed to the Speedway Classic, which was a chaotic one-off, let's create a one-off. If Major League Baseball were to do a special one-off game next season, a la the Little League Classic or the Speedway Classic or the Field of Dreams game, or the what else? The Civil Rights game, or the Fort Hood game or whatever, the Fort Bragg game, the military game, the Fort Bragg game, I think it was. Whatever game, a one-off. What would that be? We've tried to put ballparks in weird places like the Grand Canyon or what have you, but now let's create a one-off game for next season in Major League Baseball. What would that be?
I want to keep it kind of lighthearted and like really family focused. I want to do the Savannah Bananas series where 2 teams play at the Savannah Bananas ballpark.
Okay.
And the big promotion would be, not all of the funds, obviously, but a very, very sizable portion of ticket sales go to the Savannah Bananas charity, which is the Bananas Foster, which helps kids in the foster care system. I would love something like that. Would you have Go ahead. I would say, it would be fun to have the Bananas play a team, but the score might be a little lopsided. But or just have the 2 major league teams play with the Bananas rules.
Well, I don't know if you could do that. No? For a regular season game. That might be hard to do. I think that would be unfair.
Make a preseason could be fun.
Well, yeah, maybe preseason, or you could just. I mean, you would make it like a whole weekend where like Friday and Saturday nights you have Savannah Bananas games there at the stadium, and then Sunday you have the Major League game, and maybe like there's the Bananas do sort of things between innings and stuff like that to kind of get the crowd pumped and stuff like that. Keep it loose, but I think that's good. I think it's good. Let's see. What could we do that is a one-off that also takes into account baseball history, that is also kind of interesting and different and fun? What if you did? I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of like going back to like maybe if you go back to the 60s or 70s and. So there was a game back in the 70s, I think it was like 72 or 73. In fact, the anniversary was very recently, where the Chicago White Sox wore shorts. Have you heard of this?
No.
There was a game once. I forget, was Bill Veeck in charge of the team at that time? I forget. But there was a game in which the White Sox decided they were going to try and wear shorts instead of pants. And it's kooky. You could look it up on Google. You can see pictures of the White Sox wearing shorts in that game.
1976. Yeah.
76. It was Bill Veeck.
Navy shorts and white collared jerseys.
Yeah. Yeah. This was, mid-70s, like very, we're trying a lot of things. We're expanding Bill Veeck was sort of on the forefront of doing kooky things to experiment with the game presentation. It didn't work well. The White Sox never wore shorts again. That was the end of that. But can you do something that incorporates like kooky, uniforms? Like, do you have like, man, I don't know. This is a hard one. Do you do like do you have players play in shorts? Do you have maybe like mascots, maybe a mascot game or something? I don't know. I'm coming up. It's hard. I'm trying to come up with something.
Kind of alumni kind of a game too, because I know a lot of college baseball teams will do that. They'll bring back some of their alumni to play in a game. Which I don't know.
Like turn back the clock. Not maybe that's it. Maybe it's a turn back the clock. Maybe so like maybe two teams, because they used to do turn back the clock nights a lot in baseball, and now they just have the throwback jerseys as part of whatever, your uniforms. Yeah. But what if you did a turn back the clock and it was like you really like went to the nines with this, right? And you made it like you played a game at an old stadium that is no longer in use, but still like the Astrodome, or
just got a little bit of something in there.
Are there other ballparks that are still like up and standing and you still host baseball games? I mean, Globe Life is still standing. The old Globe Life, Choctaw in Arlington. Like, put two teams in that old stadium, have them wear the old uniforms. The whole presentation goes back to that era. Yeah. And you have like an alumni weekend of that era where like players from that year, also sort of show up, and you just make it a whole thing. I mean, I don't know if you do it on a nationwide sort of way, but you could do it nationwide, but it would be good if it was like team centric. But there was Fox did a broadcast back in 1999 or something like this, where every 2 innings, it was a different style of television broadcast depending on the era. So they were doing like the evolution of TV, of baseball on TV for the entire broadcast. This is on YouTube. You can find it, where like the first 2 innings, they did it like in, it was like 1948, the beginning of baseball on television, or 1940, whatever year was like the first time they did baseball on television. It was the first 2 innings was that. And then they jumped in the 3rd and 4th inning to like 1957. And then they jumped in the 5th and 6th inning to like 1969. And then they did this, like they went each, like every couple innings, they did another era of TV. And so you would see color get incorporated. You would see the graphics be different. It was really cool, the whole broadcast. But that was like a one-off Fox thing to kind of show how baseball has evolved on television. But something like that, where you just like do like the history of baseball and you show it in a way that's still within the presentation of a regular season game, but you have the experiences, you have the fun stuff, and you make it intimate. I don't know.
I love that. But the only way you keep it modern is keep beer at the high prices, because if you're going to do the $2 beers, that is a whole mess that you don't want to.
That would be Bring back 10-cent beer night.
Oh, what could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Everything could go wrong. 10-cent beer night. Insane if we do that again.
Oh my God.
Well, that is it for this episode of Take Me Out. Thank you for listening. We'll be back here next week to talk more baseball, to talk more ballparks. And please go onto our Patreon, patreon.com/takemeout, because there's much more there. We have Citizens Bank Park review. We have Philadelphia Guide. And I believe I'll be putting in this week the review of Globe Life Field as well. So look out for that. All on the Patreon, patreon.com/takemeout. Until then, thank you for listening. I'm Tim.
And I'm Alex. And it's baseball season.
See you next week.